and says he's ready to play however much his team needs tonight. Rams running back Cam Akers returned to limited action last week, just 6 months after he tore his right Achilles before training camp in July. He wasn't expected to play at all this season. Akers got 13 snaps last Sunday against the 49ers, a test run for tonight, he said, and he expects to be used much more in this game. And then there's the king of the improbable comebacks. J.J. Watt is playing tonight just 10 weeks after having his left shoulder surgically rebuilt. Watt told us he's not going to overdo it tonight, but has no concerns about how the shoulder will hold up. He said it's been tested in the weight room and on the practice field this week. He's fully confident in it and ready to roll. Steve?
Okay, Lise, from Weddle to Watt, this has the makings of a wild night. You've been watching the Progressive Wild Card Kickoff. Cardinals-Rams on ESPN, and ABC is coming up next. And Peyton and Eli on ESPN2 after these messages.
Arizona Cardinals battle Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. It's the grand finale of Super Wild Card Weekend on Monday Night Football.
SoFi Stadium in Hollywood Park, just 12 miles from Hollywood. So as you would expect, celebrities, the A-listers in the house, like Will Ferrell. There's Mia Hamm. Omar's got to be nearby. There he is. Garcia Parra. Sugar Ray in the house tonight.
There we go.
And Gabby and Dwayne. Thought they were on Kiss Cam for a second. That's them, not us. We said the Cardinals struggled down the stretch, right? I mean, they had a 2-game lead in the West with 5 to play, and they lost 4 of the 5. How about the impact coming into this one?
Yeah, certainly they've got to get their mojo back, and they lost last week against Seattle. It didn't look good, but they had a lot of injuries defensively. I expect a much more spirited attempt from them on the defensive side in particular.
Yeah, look, I think the Cardinals right now, the return of J.J. Watt, I cannot emphasize enough how important that is just from a professionalism perspective. And that's not to say they didn't have great leadership already. Rodney Hudson, A.J. Green, all those guys were brought in here by Steve Keim for that. But I'll tell you what, look, J.J.'s different, man. He's different. To be playing tonight after his shoulder basically exploded, that's a different kind of dude. To be able to come out here and strap it up and play in a game of this magnitude, I expect him to really show up.
Then there are the Rams. They were coasting down the stretch until the finale. Had the 2 seed locked up, then they blow a 17-3 halftime lead. They wound up in the 4 spot. They still win the division, but that's a very quiet championship division room after that game.
Yeah, and that was a gut punch. That's their rival, the 49ers, and the way that they lost that game, giving it up at the end. If Matthew Stafford has confidence in their response tonight, they have to come out and run the football. It cannot be dropped back 45 times for Matthew Stafford. They have got to get that run game going, and if they get up, that's when they can have that pass rush start to tee off.
Yeah, they are much better. Since we last saw them, when we saw them in San Francisco, and San Francisco really put a beating on them up there at their home field, they really kind of revamped their offense. They really got Matthew under center a lot more, really emphasized the running game with Sony Michel, and now they look like a totally different type of offense.
NFC West division rivals meeting for the 3rd time this season. They split, each winning on the road. The Rams won the toss and have deferred. So the Cardinals will get the football first. That's Rondale Moore. How about the rookie out of Purdue? Good stare into his eyes. Matt Gay ready to kick it away. As we get ready, let's sit it down on Michael Buffer.
The most famous announcer in the world, Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, This is the NFL playoffs, and this is Monday Night Football. For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Let's get ready to rumble!
Time now for our player resume, brought to you by Indeed. Three-time Defensive Player of the Year winners. There have only been 3, and we've got 2 of them in the game tonight. And I was lucky enough to grow up in that New York metropolitan area. I think I saw every game Lawrence Taylor played. He's the best defensive player I've ever seen play the game.
No argument.
Made the special team stop after a 52-yard punt.
The time is always right to do what is right. Now is the time to open the doors of opportunity to all of God's children. Now is the time to change the pending national elegy into a creative psalm of brotherly love.
We shall overcome.
We observe Martin Luther King Jr. Day in celebration of his birthday and in commemoration of his achievements, legacy as an American civil rights activist who fought for equality for all.
The rehab, the dedication to his rehab, the medical staff here in Los Angeles and how they have helped him along the way, how he really dove into the rehab process. I talked to Stefan Bell, our injury analyst at ESPN.
Hey, Steve, well, Cam Akers told me he realized that the opportunity was going to be a possibility of coming back soon about 2 months after the Achilles injury, when he was moving around and doing workouts that were way ahead of schedule. But even though he got back quicker than expected, he said the road back was long and hard. There were lots of days. He said he cried on the way to rehab, was afraid he just wouldn't be the same player, but just kept at it. He said he feels good now, no soreness, no swelling. Last week was a test run, hopes to be used a lot more tonight.
Cardinals start the playoffs away from Glendale as a 5 seed. Likely stay that way, but they enjoy life on the road, as shown by their NFL best 8-1 record. These Cards are the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 8 road games to start the playoffs away from home. And you understand, you figure if you win 8 road games, you're dominant at home too, and that just wasn't the case. And that's why you would never start on the road in the playoffs, yet here they are. ESPN's NFL Wild Card is brought to you by Burger King. Get the $5 Your Way meal with the Double Whopper Jr. And Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, and motorcycle insurance. Visit Progressive.com. Cardinals and Rams only met in the playoffs once. Back in 1975, NFC Divisional round at the old Coliseum. That's our pal Ron Jaworski. Had a rushing and a passing touchdown. LA won. Went on to the NFC title game where they would lose to the Cowboys. NFL Divisional Playoffs presented by Intuit TurboTax Live. Kickoff this Saturday with the Bengals and Titans on CBS, followed by the Packers and the 49ers on Fox. Then the action continues Sunday with the Bills and Chiefs on CBS, and the winner of this game against the Buccaneers next Sunday in the early window on NBC. And the Rams appear to be on their way. Very impressive start for them.
Yeah, this is the scenario that the Cardinals wanted to avoid. Getting down 2 scores where now the Rams defense starts to tee off on you. Kyler Murray talked about it. They need to find some rhythm, man. They need to find something that they can get to that will get them some first downs, get their defense off the field, and kind of calm down this euphoria that the Rams are feeling.
And we talked about all the pressure coming in on Matt Stafford in this offense, and they have delivered. They have been sharp. They have made the plays when they needed to, both on the ground and through the air. Really impressive start for the Rams.
Time now for America's favorite, Levy's Believe It or Not. Look how happy those guys are, fellas. The 1947 Cardinals, led by Pro Football Hall of Fame halfback Charlie Trippi and his Hall of Fame coach Jimmy Conzelman. Trippi turned 100 on December 14th. And they see the longest active title droughts. Wow. So the Guardians, by the way, that's the new name for the Cleveland Indians. You guys, I don't know if you guys caught on that, paid attention to that. Yep. Sacramento Kings, 1951, and the Toronto Maple Leafs go back to 1967. But the longest active title drought of the Big Four professional sports belongs to these Cardinals. Midfield. It's all going the Rams' way for now.
Lift every voice. When I think of Dr. Martin Luther King, I think about a man that led by example. It inspires me as a leader on this team.
It means a lot that somebody was fighting for my future as an African-American man.
Thank you, Dr. King, for allowing the world to see from your point of view how important it is to love one another.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day honors the civil rights activist and minister who helped bring about change and racial justice during his lifetime and continues to inspire the nation. Tonight's aerial coverage is brought to you by Goodyear. This is the third time in the last 20 seasons that a playoff game and the Super Bowl will be played in the same stadium in the same postseason. Last time it happened, U.S. Bank Stadium, the Minneapolis Miracle, followed by the Phillies Special a few weeks later. Super Bowl 52. Instead, it's 6, and it's a Rams touchdown.
Well, we had some questions coming into this game about this secondary for the Rams. Remember, last week, they did not look good. They gave up that 2-minute drive to Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. The week before that, when they were playing the Ravens, there was a lot of back and forth between Jalen Ramsey and Taylor Rapp, and then they bring in Eric Weddle, and they're trying to settle down that DB room. And nobody has, for Arizona, they haven't even challenged that secondary or put them on Front Street, and they've gotten away with it.
That'll take us down to the 2-minute warning. It's been all Rams, leading the Cardinals 21-0. Arizona Cardinals. The playoffs all set up for next week. Cincinnati and Tennessee, Buffalo, Kansas City, San Francisco, Green Bay, and then who's going to play the Buccaneers next Sunday? Right now it looks like the Rams. You know, the Rams and the Cardinals could still get another home game the way this crazy bracket plays out. Now San Francisco would have to win, and LA or Arizona would have to win next week, and then either here in Englewood or in Glendale could host the NFC Championship game. Can't wait to hear Lisa's report from Cliff Kingsbury. That'll be an interesting halftime. All Rams up 21-0 at the break. Stay tuned for the USAA Insurance halftime.
USA, this is Stephanie.
Hi, this is Robert. I'd like to get up to 30% off my auto insurance with Safe Pilot.
I can help you with that. What's your member number?
87.
It should be between.
It is a great pleasure to welcome you to the first ever Monday Night Football playoff game.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Oh no, Beckham Jr. got it down!
The things that go on at the bottom of that pile.
Tyler, it's intercepted!
You absolutely can't do that.
And it's all Rams. It's all gone wrong for Arizona. Out of the half, flying into the third quarter, 21-0. Home team. And all the pressure on both of these quarterbacks. And Matthew Stafford, rather economical first half. Kyler and the Cards really struggled. Time now for the Mercedes EQ third quarter reset. Keep in mind, Cooper Kupp has one catch.
Yeah, Sean McVay wanted to come into this game, and he wanted to establish the run game, and that's exactly what they did with Sony Michel and with Cam Akers, and this offensive line started to push people, working together up front. That, to me, was the biggest difference in the first half, Lewis.
Yeah, because really what they did is they got inside the Cardinals' head now. Now they don't know if they can match this football team blow for blow, and once you get a team on its heels, physically and mentally, especially in a high-pressure situation like this, now you've got them where you want them. And now it's going to be imperative the leadership of the Cardinals respond here. Otherwise, they're going to get blown out in this second half. So we'll see what happens.
I saw Steve Keim, the GM of the Cards, on the field. He said he's never seen Kyler in the facility this week more at any time his entire career. Kingsbury said the same thing, just hasn't materialized in that first half.
So you're going to talk to Kyler Murray at halftime and say, listen, obviously that's not how we want to play football, but you're going to be remembered for how you play in this second half. Now, you have a long road, an uphill road to go, but settle down, take back control control of the huddle, and that's going to be the only way that you're going to get back in this football game.
Steve, Sean McVay told me that he loves everything about the way his team is playing. He said the defense could not have played a better first half. On offense now, he says we've got to continue to run the ball, be efficient, and then pick and choose our spots. Exactly the opposite for the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury said the first half was about as bad as it could have been. He said we couldn't get anything going, but Kingsbury said there are no 21-point plays, so we've got to play now like it's 0-0. Steve?
Where the love go? He is the baddest man! Let's go! Where the love go? 5, 4, 3, 2, I let one go.
Back at SoFi Stadium in Englewood, California. This is the 50th all-time playoff game for the Rams organization. Just the 17th for the Cardinals. Cooper Kupp, you know he won the Triple Crown, 4th player since 1970, but it's not all about that.
No, look at all the things that he does that don't show up, that people don't notice. Blocking in the run game. And then when you catch that many balls, you're going to be used as a decoy at times. Look at this. Bring the underneath coverage and allow Tyler Higbee to get behind you. And then the touchdown to OBJ. He's going to force the safety to come over and respect his ability to catch a football. And that gives OBJ a one-on-one. Much like Aaron Donald and Von Miller in that relationship, it's very similar with Cooper Kupp. He's going to draw so much attention that other guys are going to have opportunities to make plays.
A massive impact with and without, as you would expect, arguably the best wide receiver in the game. It hurts him everywhere, but especially in the red zone. Not that they've sniffed the red zone tonight.
Well, look, I mean, when we talked to Jalen Ramsey, he said, look, without him on the outside, it really does allow them to go ahead and focus on making sure they defend inside out. Look, A.J. Green is still a fantastic wide receiver, but he just changed everything with him not being on the field.
Down to Lisa.
Steve, James Conner told me before the game that those ribs are still extremely sore on his left side. You can see the thick layer of protection he's wearing there, but he told me he did not want to get a pain-killing injection tonight because of what happened to Tyrod Taylor last season when Taylor, who was playing for the Chargers, got an injection right before a game in week 2, and the team doctor accidentally punctured his lung. Conner told me, I'm just playing it safe. I don't want that happening to me. It's painful, but I got to play through it. It's the playoffs.
And we'll start the 4th with a field goal attempt. The Rams by 20, quarter away from a trip to Tampa Bay.
Day.
With John Parry, Lisa Salters, Brian Greasy, Louis Riddick, and our Monday Night Football family, Steve Levy, as we open up the 4th quarter and wrap up the last of the 6 games from the Super Wild Card weekend. The Rams have had their way with the Cardinals to this point, up by 20 on a rather imperfect weekend around the NFL. The kickers were perfect. Kickers made all 14 of their field goal attempts this wild card weekend. Here's Matt Gay. And just got it through. As we take a look at our easiest decision, brought to you by Capital One Bank.
Well, I wouldn't say that Matthew Stafford has been absolutely perfect, but he's been really close. He has done everything that Sean McVay has asked him to do. He's orchestrated the run game. When he's had to make plays in the passing game, he's identified coverage and found his playmakers. And listen, we talked coming into this game about all the pressure on Matthew Stafford and how would he respond. And yes, some things went his way. The ball bounced his way based on what the Cardinals did, but he still had to go out and execute. And this is something that he can build off. And this offense, when they run the football and use play action, really it's tough to stop.
I think you could make the argument that Stafford had more pressure on him than any starting quarterback in this wild card weekend.
Well, sure, everybody has always considered Matthew to be a great individual talent, but not someone who can really lead a football team to the promised land, beginning with just a simple playoff win, considering he was 0-3. All it is.
Right. Talked about it, the most passing touchdowns without a playoff win in NFL history, and it's Stafford, and it's not even close. With a win tonight, Stafford jumps off the page, and in terms of active quarterbacks, Andy Dalton would be next up. Again, that's a list you don't want to be on. Dalton, like A.J. Green, the years in Cincinnati, but how about the Bengals? Good for the people of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
We don't root, but 31 years in between playoff wins, and the Bengals got it going on, and they'll head to Nashville next weekend. Trying to stay in this one, down 20. Good look at the City of Angels. And tonight's aerial coverage is brought to you by Goodyear. Lights are bright in Las Vegas. They will be when the league's 88 best players face off the Pro Bowl in Vegas. 2022 Pro Bowl presented by Verizon on Sunday, February 6th, 3 Eastern. Buy your tickets today at ProBowl.com or watch the excitement on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Deportes. Speaking of the Pro Bowl, Cooper Kupp is on their way for the first many more years to come, getting the Triple Crown. Winners since the 1970 merger, Jerry Rice, Sterling Sharp, Steve Smith. And this season, Kupp becomes the fourth to lead the NFL in receptions, yards, and touchdowns in a single season. Cooper Kupp, most receptions in a single season. Trails only Michael Thomas in that department. And only Calvin Johnson. What they have in common is Matthew Stafford.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
I mean, for Matthew Stafford to be a part of those two, really cool. And we talked with Matthew a little bit about it this week. He said there's such different players, and they were both great and impacted the game in so many different ways. I've been most impressed learning more about Cooper Kupp and the way that he approaches playing the game of football. And it's not just about catches, but learning how to block in the running game, the details of that, continuing to do this.
And still fighting for more yardage. Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, we won't mention where he went to school.
Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Never a shortage of A-listers like Jay-Z here in Los Angeles.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
In this beautiful building. We'll be back in 15 seconds after this word from Subway.
Lift every voice. When I think about Dr. King and his legacy, the first thing that comes to mind to me is just really making it better tomorrow.
You know, we are playing this game that we love together. We still have a long way to go, but I think we're moving in the right directions.
The first time the league is playing on MLK Day, and we're, honoring him. We still keeping his name alive today.
As one of the leading voices and activists of the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr. championed justice for all. Be love, end hate. The immortal words of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. This is really cool, illuminated on top of SoFi Stadium. His momentous decree delivered from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial during the March on Washington, August 28, 1963. Calling for civil and economic rights and an end to racism in the United States.
That was really a great message, man. A great message. The normalization, just a normalization of equality.
Junior, Von Miller. Here's the week 3 matchup, the quarterback comparison. Tom put it up 55 times, and the Rams able to get the 10-point victory. Those two will hook up again Sunday in the early afternoon window in the divisional playoffs. 2-minute warning here in Los Angeles.
I'm Scott Van Pelt. Coming up in the Super Wildcard postgame presented by Abbott. Full highlights, live reaction here for both teams. Ryan Clark ready to break down a key contributor in this game. Now, one last time, Steve Levy, back to you. Been a pleasure watching and listening to you all work all year long. Well done.
2016, so they came in really banged up, limped into the playoffs. In 2014, he thought the Lions had a really good chance.
Yep.
Bad call went their way in Dallas, but it's still a loss, and the quarterback wears those. And so Matthew Stafford will finally excuse himself from that page and pick up his first playoff win.
Which, after all those years in Detroit and people saying Matthew Stafford can't raise the level of everyone else around him, he can't carry a football team, he's not good enough, he's overrated, he's just a stats guy. That's got to be a good feeling, and he's rewarded him so far.
Right.
It's one down. Now he gets to go up against the GOAT. That's a big-time challenge, and it gets a defense that's pretty ferocious.
If you get that done, like, I don't want to hear any more of the storylines, you know, like these things that we create. Like, this is a good football player, and he's now getting the opportunity to play as a part of a good team, and I'm happy for him to go to the next stage of the tournament.
But I just want to finish this point about Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
This guy has taken off. And he has the backing of some people here, namely his quarterback, who says he's one of the most intelligent football players he's ever been around. And his play over the past couple of weeks speaks for itself.
Rams had no turnovers, allowed just 1 sack, 35 and a half minutes time of possession. And these Los Angeles Rams travel clear across the country. And they'll visit Tampa in the early window next Sunday in the divisional playoffs, 3 p.m. Eastern, over on NBC. Super Wild Card weekend comes to an end, and Matthew Stafford gets that elusive first career playoff win. Don't miss the 2022 Pro Bowl, Sunday, February 6th, 3 Eastern on ESPN and ABC. The NFL Super Wild Card postgame presented by Abbott. It's coming up next here on ESPN. Our producer, Phil Dean, Jimmy Platt, our director, leaders of Monday Night Football in every way possible. Thanks all for a great season. Stay tuned for Scott Van Pelt. So long from Los Angeles.
Thanks, guys. I am Scott Van Pelt. For those of you watching on ABC, your local news is next, except for those of you on the West Coast. Coming up on ESPN, the Super Wild Card postgame presented by Abbott. Full highlights, live reaction from SoFi Stadium. Lisa Salters will be visiting with Matthew Stafford. All that and a whole lot more on ESPN in about 3 minutes. We'll see you then.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League.